Hey, so today I purchased my advance ticket to Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, otherwise known as Mission Impossible 8. Um, I will be seeing it opening night, uh, May 22nd at 7 p.m. So, looking forward to that. I love the previous film, and I thought I would mark this occasion by doing a video ranking the Mission Impossible movies so far. Um, and then I want to do another video just doing a kind of a critique of Dead Reckoning. But anyway, I'm just going to rank 1 through 7 here. And the ranking is just going to be my own personal preference, how much I happen to enjoy each film. And it's not like I've watched them all recently. I haven't been doing like a rewatch in the last month, but I have rewatched all of them in the last year. Uh, well, except number two. But so anyway, let me get this started. Starting from the bottom, number 7, and working my way up to number 1 on my list. And this is going to be a surprise to absolutely no one that at the bottom of the list is Mission Impossible 2. I've only seen it all the way through once back in my 20s, and I'm in my 40s now. So um, I remember my impression of it was that it was 2 hours of waiting for it to get interesting, and it never did. And that it every action scene felt exactly the same. Um, it was all filmed at 11, all filmed exactly the same way. And it was very formulaic. I mean, the movies had become very formulaic, but this one was like, I think I read once someone referring to John Woo movies as parodies of action movies, and I think that's a pretty good way of describing this as a parody of action movies. It's so, exposition scene, action scene, exposition scene, action scene. I mean, that's what the series has become, but this thing does it so blatantly and so not well. I mean, there's no sense of escalation, as I recall. I'm just going on old memories. Now, I did try to rewatch it recently because they're all on Prime, but which I don't have, but my dad does. So, um, so I was trying to rewatch it there, and I couldn't do it. It was boring, man. It was just boring. I watched like a half hour of it, and I had to cut it off. It looks good. It's a good looking film. It's beautiful to look at. Good cinematography and good set design and costume design, all that good stuff. But the actual storytelling is just boring. So then moving along to number 6 on my list, and this is going to surprise some people because this is, from what I see, is a generally very highly praised entry into the franchise, and that is MI6 Fallout. And I remember the first time I watched this movie, my brother gave it to me for Christmas or my birthday or something. And when I first watched it, I loved it. And I remember emailing him and saying, "Hey, I love this movie you gave me. It was awesome. I enjoyed every minute of it." But then I found that rewatching it was something that didn't work for me. Every time I tried to rewatch it, I couldn't get through it. There was always a point where I just got bored with it. And that's why it's so low on my list, and is that it just, while it's got some great stuff in there, there are some wonderful scenes, some wonderful moments in this film. As a whole, it just doesn't hold my attention. And in fact, after I saw Dead Reckoning and really enjoyed it, I was like, okay, I've got to rewatch the movie that came before this, and remind myself what happened. So I pulled out Fallout, and I was like, I'm going to watch it all the way from beginning to end. And I had to force myself because again, I really just wanted to turn it off because I was getting bored. As much as I admired, appreciated certain scenes, certain parts of the script, it, it just wasn't. The flow of the thing just wasn't working for me, and so since this is all about how much I enjoy a film, yeah, I've got to put it down there since it doesn't keep my attention, it bores me. So that means that number 5 is actually MI3. Back when they were actually giving it numbers, Mission Impossible 3, no subtitle. The first, was it the first feature film from J.J. Abrams? He was, he's on nobody's list for greatest director of all time. But if he's given a decent script, he can do a decent job. He's an okay director for hire, basically. He was he was given to, anyway, not to get commented on that, but he worked as a director for hire, and MI3, well, it's not a great film by any means. It's not a great script by any means. It does keep my attention. It does keep me basically entertained. It does work as basic entertainment, and it also has one of the best villains in the entire franchise. Philip Seymour Hoffman does a fantastic job. He brings it, man. And I wish we could have had more of him. So, so yeah, there's that, and evidently we're gonna get the rabbit's foot in 8, so that's gonna be exciting. It's funny, JJ puts the rabbit's foot in 3. People are wondering, what is that? And JJ's like, how should I know? I just put these things in for mystery boxes. I don't know, but then Christopher McQuarrie is like, I'll take that. Thank you very much. And I'll do something fantastic with it, I assume. I'm hoping. Do they explain what the rabbit's foot is in 3? I don't remember if they do. Maybe I'm just not, maybe they do and I just don't remember, or is it just JJ saying, hey, here's the MacGuffin. We're not gonna really say anything about it except the bad guy wants it, and whatever. Anyway, so moving on to number 5 on my list is, let's see. No, wait a minute. That was number 5. Let's see. 3. Number 7 was 2. Number 6 was 6. Number 5 was 3. Okay. At number 4, I've got number 4. When they stopped giving numbers to it and just started going with subtitles, which is what was 4 named Ghost Protocol, directed by I know this guy's name. You know his name. Whatever. Anyway, he directed The Incredibles, my favorite animated film, and it's a good movie. It's got possibly the best opening sequence of all the films, and it's for the most part pretty solid. It's the movie where the technology doesn't work. Of course, the masks don't work and the glove doesn't work, and so it's a little bit different that way. It does have that sequence with the sandstorm, and I have a problem with sandstorm and desert stuff because deserts are very monochromatic and they're not interesting on the screen, and sandstorms mean that you can't see anything. It means the characters can't see anything, which gives them a certain, an additional obstacle, and creates that additional drama, I guess, but it also means the audience can't see stuff. And in a visual medium, when the audience's view is obstructed, that can cause the audience's investment to draw back a little bit. Um, but for the most part, this thing works pretty darn well. Brad Bird, that's the director, Brad Bird. Um, the only thing about it is that I feel like it doesn't really stick the landing. That the climax for me never really worked. I didn't care for the climax per se. Somehow I just didn't. It just made me roll my eyes on it. But it is the first movie. It is the movie that got me back into the franchise, because after number 2, I disliked it. I was so disappointed in it that I just wrote the series off. And when I saw they were making number 3, my reaction was, who the heck's gonna see that after number 2 was so bad? And well, thankfully not everyone is like me, because if everyone were like me, we would not be where we are today, with 4, 5, 6, 7, and now 8 coming out in a few weeks. But so I just dismissed 3. But then years later, I saw Ghost Protocol in the library. They had a copy at the library, and I was like, okay, Brad Bird directed this thing, and I like him, and it's free. It's the library, so what have I got to lose? I'll check it out. And I watched it, and I was like, wait a minute, they started making these things good again? I really enjoyed it, and that got me to go back and watch 3. So anyway, so it's number 4 on my list. At number 3 is the original Mission Impossible, directed by Brian De Palma. And it's interesting that a series which is known now as an action series started with a movie that's not an action movie. The first Mission Impossible, it has that as an action sequence at the end, but most of the film doesn't. I mean, it has a little bit of action here and there, but it doesn't really have action sequences per se. I mean, you got the window blowing up and the water and and Tom Cruise running out. And it's an action moment, but you don't have action sequences per se. You have a suspense sequence when he's breaking into Langley, right? And suspended, above the floor at the computer and all that. But it's basically a spy thriller, a straight up spy thriller. And I remember the first time I watched it, I was really confused. I was like, does this thing make sense? I can't put this. Does this actually all work together? And the last time I watched it, I don't know whether I was kidding myself or whether it was actual, but it seemed to me that it made more sense than I thought it had in the past. But anyway, in rewatching it, I enjoyed it. Whether it actually did make complete sense or not, I thought I could more or less follow it, and I was enjoying it. It's a good looking film. And it's well directed, well acted. You have the wonderful Vanessa Redgrave in there. I've forgotten just how wonderful she is. I mean, she's just, every scene with her in it is a delight. I don't know, there's something about her, but yeah, it holds up. And although the use of the early internet in that movie is kind of hilarious. That's great. where he's emailing Job. It's like, so that brings me to number 2, which is Dead Reckoning, Part 1, but not anymore. And Dead Reckoning has a lot of flaws, and I intend to do a video going into that. But I enjoyed the heck out of it. Got it from the library again. And the first time I watched it, I mean, first time I rented it from the library, I watched it 3 times. Um, and because I was like, okay, I enjoyed it the first time, but is this going to be like Fallout where I enjoy it the first time but can't get through it the second? Nope. I got through it the second time, no problem. Got through it the third time, no problem. Rented it again, got it through a fourth time, got through a fourth time, no problem. Fifth time, no problem. Sixth time, no problem. I just, I don't know, something about that movie just really, really works for me in spite of its flaws. So, which brings me, and of course, I'm having loved that. I'm really, really looking forward to 8. And with the first Mission Impossible, I mentioned, I wanted to say this, but I forgot to do it, that, I mentioned how the first Mission Impossible is an actual action film, and then they flipped the script, and with Mission Impossible 2, they made it as much of a cookie cutter action movie as possible. They went completely the opposite direction. That was kind of an interesting choice. They went there with completely the opposite direction as far as going from spy thriller to very cookie cutter, intense action film with a simplistic plot. I think it had a simplistic plot. I forget what it was anyway. But anyway, moving back to the number one on my list. Of course, if you've been keeping track, it's no secret. It is number 5, Rogue Nation. It is the Mission Impossible movie I think works perfectly. That from beginning to end, it works. From the opening sequence all the way to the finale, it just keeps going. It keeps that it keeps a high entertainment value, keep high production value, it keeps high everything. It's just it's really well done all the way through. Of course, it's the movie that introduces Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson. And it's the first movie that was written and directed by, first Mission Impossible movie that was written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie. So, yeah. It's good script, good pacing, good climax, good everything. And it's, again, gorgeous to look at. Really, really good cinematography and everything. So that's that. That's my listing, my personal enjoyment ranking of these films. Recapping 2, 6, 3, 4, 1, 7, and 5. So, anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.